Mm. Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our I asked Brother Leonard Q&A for Wednesday night. It's 8th of December 2021. I'm asking everybody to like and share, subscribe to the Prophets of Awakening channel, and hit the notification button if you can. This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah, and that's the Tanakh is the Old Testament, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai by the Lord of Hosts. Shalom and welcome to Prophets of Awakening. We're going to do our moment of silence and our prayer and our songs, and then we do a little current events, and then we're going to asking Brother Leonard questions and anybody dividing scriptures. Okay, like I said, this moment of silence is for our Creator, Yahweh, and his Lord of Hosts, our Redeemer, and all that they're doing to bring about our deliverance from or prophesied deliverance from the land of our oppressors. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongs unto thee. Therefore, we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David and Solomon, Samuel and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. And give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad. For you possess the power to do so. For we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and to keep your commandments and your testimony and your statutes with all our heart and soul, and to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea, O Lord. Hear and do, O Lord. Hide not thy face from us, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. I'm going to do a song like I'm going to read Psalms 60. It's a prayer for help against all the folk. Okay, it says, O God, thou hast cast us off. Thou hast scattered us. Thou hast been displeased. O turn thyself to us again. Thou hast made the earth to tremble. Thou hast broken it. Heal the breaches thereof, for it is shaken. Thou hast showed thy people hard things. Thou hast made us to drink the wine of astonishment. Thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee, that it may be displayed because of truth. Selah, that thy beloved may be delivered. Save with thy right hand and hear me. God hath spoken in his holiness. I will rejoice. I will divide Shechem, and I will mete out the valley of Sukkah. Gilead is mine. Manasseh is mine. Ephraim also is the strength of my head. Judah is my lawgiver. Moab is my washpot. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Philistine, triumph thou because of me. Who will bring me into the strong city? Who will lead me into Edom? Will not thou, O God, which have cast us off, and thou, O God, which didst not go out with our armies, give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of man. Through God we shall do valiantly, for it is he that shall tread down our enemies. So that's Psalm 60, a prayer for help against our enemies. Any comments? Okay, so I was looking at it's David talking. So notice when you understand that it's David talking, he says, God has spoken in his holiness. This is verse 6. I will rejoice, I will divide Shechem, and I will mete out the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine. David talking. Gilead is mine. Manasseh is mine. Ephraim also is the strength of mine head. Judah is my lawgiver. Moses is my washpot. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Philistine triumph thou because of me. Who will bring me into the strong city? Who will lead me into Edom? So, like I said, David talking. So he asked the question in 9, who will bring me into the strong city, into Jerusalem? Lord of hosts will. Say, who will lead me into Edom? Lord of hosts will. Is that so?
Yes, sir. But verse 3 catches my attention.
Right.
Thou hast showed thy people hard things. Thou hast made us to drink the wine of astonishment. To me, I think of the transatlantic slave trade.
Right.
Because nothing could be more harder than that, and slavery itself, the chattel slavery itself. And that is nothing but astonishment of all that we have had to go through as a people.
Right.
So
right.
That's what I get from verse 3.
Right, exactly. Yeah, look at 2. It says, "Thou hast made." I was telling you, this is David talking. Thou hast made the earth to tremble. Thou hast broken it. Heal the breaches thereof, for it's shaken. Right. So look at this. Go to I think it's Amos. Yeah, Amos 9, verse 11. Says, "In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David." It told you David talking in Psalm 60. "In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days old." See that? Then over here, David's telling you in verse 2, "Thou hast made the earth to tremble. Thou hast broken." This is when he opened up the breaches of David's breaches. "Thou hast made the earth to tremble. Thou hast broken it. Heal the breaches of David." Amos 9:11. "Therefore, for it is shaken." See that? Okay. Anybody else got anything on that?
Hey, I like verse 12.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, we're going to do violent. I mean, when you look that word up, that's bravery. That's the Lord of hosts giving us that spirit, of war. Man.
Right.
I believe He's putting that spirit of war in us.
Oh yeah, right.
That's what I got out of it.
Right, yeah, you're right. Giving us the testament fortitude to stand up. Yeah. Is there something? Okay. Anybody got any current events? Okay. I got a few before we get started on these questions. Can you see that?
Yes.
We see it. America is not a racist country.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know, it amazes me how a person can be violent and they'll be free on the streets committing all kinds of violent acts. But they'll put a black man that never committed a crime behind bars for 40 years. I mean, this place couldn't be upright even on its best day. So, this is a Newsweek story, December 3rd, 2021. Man gets over 6 years in racially motivated attack on black man. His fourth in 7 years. He done physically, violently attacked 4 black men in the last 7 years. And he was getting probation and putting him in there for a laughable amount of years and letting him out. See, this is the one you need to keep in there for 40 years. You got it all wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and play this audio for you from Newsweek.
Just a quick word from our sponsor.
After this. You know, I mean, this is just amazing, but to be expected in this system. For real. You see this all the time. Okay. I think it's almost over.
Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet? Savings and available coupons vary.
Okay.
Man gets over 6 years in racially motivated attack on black man, his fourth in 7 years. A California man was sentenced to more than 6 years behind bars for a federal hate crime against a black man, his fourth racially motivated attack in 7 years, the U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, said Friday. Bull Haugen, 45, of Santa Cruz, was convicted of the crime in April and sentenced in a California district court. He had been indicted by a federal grand jury in November 2020 and found guilty after a 6-day trial. In addition to his nearly 7-year prison term, Haugen was sentenced to an additional 3 years probation. Evidence presented by the DOJ stated that Haugen confronted a 29-year-old black man who was crossing the street in Santa Cruz. It is not clear what prompted Haugen to ambush the man. Haugen then proceeded to brandish a knife and stab at the victim between 10 and 20 times. According to eyewitness reports corroborated by the DOJ, the stabbings targeted the man's head, chest, and stomach, and Haugen was also heard spouting racial slurs during the attack, authorities said. The incident represented Haugen's fourth known racially motivated attack against a black man in a 7-year span. At the time of this stabbing, he was on probation in a separate attack for which he had been charged in a state court. All 4 incidents involved Haugen either threatening or directly committing violence against black men, the DOJ said. Haugen's conviction was officially for violating the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act. Signed into law in 2009 by former President Barack Obama, the act created additional guidelines under which hate crimes could be prosecuted and provided additional funding for states to investigate racial intolerance. Haugen's conviction is the first instance of sentencing under the act in the Northern District of California, the DOJ said. Racially motivated violent attacks cannot be tolerated in any society, said acting U.S. Attorney Stephanie Hines. The Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act provides significant penalties for violence motivated by racism and other group hate. This office will use this and every other tool to ensure prosecutions are brought down on criminals committing violence motivated by animus towards our community's protected groups, Hines added. Racially motivated crimes have no place in our society. This defendant has attacked at least 4 people because they are black, and for his most recent racially motivated attack of a black man, the defendant has been convicted, said Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark of the DOJ's Civil Rights Division. The Justice Department will continue to vigorously prosecute bias-motivated crimes in an effort to secure justice for victims of these crimes and the communities they are meant to target and intimidate. The DOJ was assisted in Haugen's case by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. All crime is unacceptable, but hate crimes are particularly cruel, said Jay Greenberg of the FBI's Criminal Investigative Division. They strike at an...
Okay. Any comments?
So he just attacked him for no reason?
Yeah. He had intention. He trying to kill him. He said he stabbed him about 12 times.
Oh, wow.
But then, like I was saying, one of the reasons I'm playing is the fact that, we talk about how the Most High instructed the Israelites not to marry their daughters and not let your sons marry their daughters and let your daughters marry their sons. And like I was saying before, it wasn't no wicked spirits around Israel. These wicked spirits was hanging around Japhet and Cain's descendants. That's why he said that sin lie at the door. These wicked ass spirits hanging around them. So when we was brought in and we came amongst them, then we came in amongst these wicked ass spirits too. A lot of people don't understand that. It wasn't no wicked. It wasn't lurking and around us like it is now, because we in amongst them. And these spirits right there, been coercing them for thousands of years. And they're doing all the wicked stuff you see them do and entering into them. Because that's what that is in here. Yeah. And you gotta understand that. You gotta be on we're in a very, very at the very, very end. And like you said, they know their time is short, so you have to be on guard for that kind of stuff. Like I said, you think that the guy was expecting him to come at him like that? Say he ambushed him. He was crossing the road. Ain't there something?
Well, it had to be an ambush or sneak attack, because there's no way, looking at that fella,
Yeah.
that a brother see him coming head up, that he will overtake him.
Right. You ain't
it had to be an ambush.
Right. You ain't paying no attention.
Right.
And then it's got to be something.
Yeah, we can thank Dr. King for all that.
I
said we can thank Dr. King for all this.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Can you hear me?
Right.
Yeah.
Brought us in a burning house. Ain't that something? Okay. Anybody else got any comments on that? Okay. Yeah, I was telling you about, we was talking right before the class started about how, and yesterday, how these Russia and China, they prophesied, dude, everything they doing. So I'm gonna give you this right here. Like I said, the clock is winding down. Let me play this. Okay.
Will 2022 begin with a war? Is Russia about to invade Ukraine? Tonight we have some disturbing developments to report. A critical meeting is underway. US President Joe Biden is speaking to his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin. The reason is this. Look closely. This is the Russia-Ukraine border. The grab is from a US intelligence document. It is the latest assessment of the Russian buildup near Ukraine. The situation is worrying. Russian forces are building up at 4 sites. Why is this worrying? Because this is how wars begin. The US assessment says that the Kremlin is planning a multi-front offensive on Ukraine. It involves 175,000 Russian troops, 100 battalions of tactical groups, fully equipped with tanks, artillery, armored units, drones, and electronic warfare systems. And that is why Joe Biden is speaking to Vladimir Putin. The US president wants Russia to pull back. The Americans have been building pressure for months. They haven't had any success. But now Biden cannot afford to wait for Putin to change his mind. Russian troops are dangerously close to the Ukraine border. America has only 2 options at the moment: send in troops to help Kiev defend itself, or force the Russian troops to withdraw. Which way will this go? Are we headed towards a war? What does Putin want? And can Biden convince him to de-escalate? On Gravitas tonight, we'll decode this dangerous escalation near Ukraine. First, let's discuss the developments at the border. We've been telling you about this for weeks now. There is massive deployment of Russian troops near eastern Ukraine, and this is nothing like what happened last spring. Remember, Russia had sent soldiers to the Ukraine border in March as well, March this year. They returned after a few months. Now they're back in bigger numbers. How many soldiers are we talking about? Close to 100,000. 50 battlefield tactical groups are deployed near the border. A reserve of contract troops is on standby. They can be mobilized if and when a conflict actually breaks out. The US believes that Russia has a plan to send up to 175,000 troops. 175,000. And this can happen as early as January 2022. Can Vladimir Putin be convinced to de-escalate?
No.
That's Joe Biden's best hope. And that's why he's meeting the Russian president virtually. It's a tough assignment for Biden. And Moscow is not giving him reason to be optimistic. Even before the meeting began, the Kremlin ruled out any breakthrough.
There's no need to expect any breakthroughs from this conversation. It is a working conversation during a very difficult period. The escalation of tensions in Europe is off the scale. It is extraordinary, and this requires a personal discussion at the highest level.
So what is the Kremlin's game plan? Reports say Russia has laid the groundwork for a full-blown invasion into Ukraine. Three developments confirm this theory. Number one, Russia is building supply lines to support troops near the border. Number two, Russian troops have conducted drills to rehearse an invasion. And number three, Moscow's propaganda campaign against Ukraine and the West is building up. Let's break these down one by one. First of all, the supply lines. Any invasion, as you would know, needs logistical support. Soldiers on the front constantly need supplies, weapons, bullets, food, medical supplies, and a lot of other things. And to send all of these supplies, you need special routes. So Russia has its supply lines in place for a potential Ukraine invasion. Dedicated routes have been created. They can be used to send fuel and medical units to the front. Arrangements for an invasion are already in place. Reports say Russia can feed frontline forces for 7 to 10 days. They can feed other support units for up to a month. And Russian forces are not just well supported, they're also well prepared. Earlier this year, Russian forces conducted drills. They happened near the Ukraine border. Kiev has been closely studying the activities of Russian troops. They believe Russia has a battle plan in place. Russian forces have rehearsed mobilization measures. They've planned logistical support and the transfer of military contingents. They have all of this worked out. Russia's plan for an invasion into Ukraine is not just limited to troop deployments and weapons. Moscow is also using unconventional methods. Reports say the Russian government is running a propaganda campaign. Russian influencers have been put to work. They're pushing content to criticize Ukraine and NATO and to paint them as the aggressor, not Russia. That is the Russian.
Okay. Any comments? What you think?
War is imminent.
Oh, yeah. Ain't that something? Yeah, like I said, it's, time out for anything else. Time to start wrapping your mind around certain things. Because, yeah. I mean, what you're looking at is you got somebody that's been bullying people for thousands of years and now they wounded. So it's the only time to take action. The beast wounded, so they're gonna come in. The same when you in a boxing match. You get a good lick in, and you see you hurt the guy, then you go to work on it. That's where we at. So here go the other side of China. Gog and Magog. Like I say, they constantly coming with these lies, but they're constantly putting pressure on America. Listen to this. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Dozens of ships off China's coast vanish. Thousands of ships have apparently vanished in the seas around China only to reappear days later, with a new law in Beijing blamed. Now entire ships have begun to vanish as they enter Chinese waters from industry tracking systems. Since the start of the month, vessels from around the globe, from tankers to cargo ships, have disappeared from global tracking systems as they have entered some of the world's busiest shipping lanes close to Chinese ports. As the ships leave Chinese waters, they reappear again. By some estimates, tracking pings from ships near China have fallen by 90% in just a few weeks. An increasing desire by Beijing to isolate itself from the rest of the world is being blamed for the blank spot. State television has raised concerns that foreign organizations could be plundering valuable military and economic intelligence via maritime tracking systems. There are now fears China's newfound reluctance to share information on vessels in its waters could impact global supply chains as shipping companies have less visibility on where their boats are. Supply chains were already under great stress, said a spokesman from an impacted marine tracking firm. It doesn't need another factor to make it more difficult. The drop-off in signals from ships in and near China began to be noticed at the beginning of the month. On November 1st, a new law came into effect in China restricting foreign access to any data, potentially including shipping data, deemed to have a bearing on national or economic security. On the same day, a report on the government-controlled China Central Television (CCTV) focused news program stated that suspicious radio equipment had been found in the home of radio enthusiasts close to a military base and commercial port in Zhangjiang in the country's south, west of Hong Kong. The broadcast said the radio ham had installed the equipment which would aid in the global tracking of ships in real time via the internet. The man had no qualms about his high-tech delivery. After all, collecting data on the movement of ships is nothing new. The major way maritime vessels are tracked is through the Automatic Identification System, or AIS, which is a kind of air traffic control for the seas. It uses transceivers fitted on vessels to transmit their position. This data is then picked up by other vessels, satellites, or AIS base stations on land.
Okay, any comment? So when you look at that, you say in China, China the one that stay in the game. So they know what they're getting ready to do. They know what Russia's getting ready to do. So they trying to protect all these ships with the merchandise in it. It's their merchandise. They're getting ready to make a move. So they're trying to protect all the cargo and all that merchandise as much as they can. They hiding them off somewhere. They're doing something with them so they won't get damaged. Ain't there something? And my observation of the whole situation.
Hey, don't it say in their book that 1/3 of the ship gonna burn?
Say that again.
Don't it say in the book of Revelation, their book, that 1/3 of the ship are burnt up?
Right, yeah, say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a script they trying to.
Right. Yeah, what the thing about it is, when you understand what they've done, it's prophecy, but they just stuck it over in Revelations.
Okay.
I believe it come out of Daniel, me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Right. Like I was talking to somebody the other day or yesterday about John. John said he saw 24 elders around the throne, right? In Revelations. Anybody familiar with that? John was taken up in the spirit into heaven. And he saw 24 elders around the throne, right? Anybody heard of that?
Oh yeah.
I heard it. Yeah.
My question is, who those 24 elders are? According to Christianity and Paul and all them. Who those 24 elders? That's the 12 apostles and the 12 sons of Jacob. Okay, so that means that John's still alive, but he one of the 12 apostles. So he's sitting there looking at his own self, sitting on one of these thrones. Imagine that. Okay, yeah. So think about that. So anyway, like I said before, they taking these ships out the way because they know what they're getting ready to do. They're getting ready to attack. And like I was saying before, I don't think it's gonna last that long. It's gonna be like America's gonna go down like hotcakes. It's like when Belshazzar, when Cyrus came in, it was overnight. The night before they was drinking wine out of those golden cups and all that. The next day, the Persians was in charge. Just like that. Okay.
Shalom.
So, go ahead.
I was just thinking about the supply chain already. You know, it's already in such great stress.
Right.
And now the China car, you know how many things have made in China on it?
Right.
That come from China? I mean, that's big.
Right. They don't want those ships to be caught out there in the middle of this war and get sunk or whatever, and they're gonna lose trillions of dollars. So they move hiding the ship, which means that they're gonna do this right now. Whatever they're getting ready to do, like the man we just saw with Russia doing, they're getting ready to do it right now. It's going down. They're getting ready to do it. So check this out.
And suddenly, a scorching explosion flashes before your eyes. Curious, you stay and observe what happens for the next 13.8 billion years. You see planets form, asteroids fly by, species come and go. But then, one day, about 2 million years ago, you notice a new species called Homo erectus. You observe them carefully, watch as they discover fire, invent the wheel, nothing out of the ordinary, until one day, this entire species starts to believe in one common story, an idea called money.
Halifax signing for the United Kingdom. From Washington State Department for the signing of the
Now, money didn't require any technological revolutions. Believing in money was just a mental shift, a new twist in reality that allows people to share in this story, this idea. The idea of a way to systematically value one thing in exchange for something else. Throughout several millennia, the story of money evolved. It started off with small communities bartering to entire kingdoms minting.
You can put the same concept on JC too.
Metal coins to the first use of paper currency in China. But it wouldn't be until the 1900s that the United States print their very first dollar that was backed by gold reserves. And it was at this moment that countries around the world started to believe in this new story, this new idea that would soon transform the financial world order as we know it. It was in 1944 when 44 countries signed the Bretton Woods Agreement that established the US dollar as the world's reserve currency, ushering in a brand new age of economic revolution. But little did the world know, in nearly 30 years, everything was about to change. It was August 1971 when President Richard Nixon gave the famous speech that sent shockwaves throughout the entire world.
I directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
Suddenly, the United States abolished the gold standard, and now instead of the U.S. dollar being backed by lots of shiny yellow metal, it was now backed by the thin air, faith, and trust in the U.S. government, the trust in the Federal Reserve to set up monetary policies that will forever keep the world economy in balance. But it only took a few decades to see that, okay, let's actually pause here, because I don't think many people actually comprehend the true power and influence from being the world's reserve currency. Let's put it this way. New York is the finance capital of the entire world. And if you want to do business here or anywhere in the United States, you need US dollars. And every US dollar transaction feeds through a US clearing system. This essentially means that entire countries, trillion-dollar companies, and even individuals are at the mercy of the US dollar in global trade. Understand this. Never before in history has any empire been able to control the world's financial system with such ease. To have the power to make those who go against it crater to their knees. And the United States can do all this because of one single document. In 2001, President Bush authorized Executive Order 13224, which gave the United States the power to exile anyone they wanted from the global financial system. In 2015, when China tried to free themselves from the
See that? China, that's what I was telling you about. They want them gone. Because look at this right here.
dollar's financial grasp, the yuan dropped in value. In 2018, President Trump made a single negative tweet about the Turkish lira, and it lost more than 18% of its value in one day. In 2019, after the United States sanctioned Iran, the SWIFT network, which allows payments to be sent worldwide, banned Iranian banks from accessing it. And shortly afterwards, the Iranian economy tanked. The power of the US dollar cannot be overstated, as the United States can quite literally crumble entire economies if they wanted to. But all that might be about to change. But first, let's jump back to when the United States abolished the gold standard, and the world entrusted the Federal Reserve to keep the global financial system in balance by printing just the right amount of money to keep the economy growing at the right pace, not too slow, and not too fast. But what exactly does this mean? Printing money. It's a really wild concept that you won't truly understand unless you think of it like this. When people like you or me, we write a check, that check won't actually go through unless we have that amount of money in our bank accounts. But when the Federal Reserve writes a check,
Illuminati bankers, you right here, the seesaw, Federal Reserve.
Money isn't being taken from anywhere. There is no bank account that's storing these funds. When the Federal Reserve writes a check, they are creating money. And every time that they do this, the existing supply of money loses value. Every year you can buy less and less with the same amount of money. For example, although your paychecks are now substantially bigger than 40 years ago, your real average income, that is your income after accounting for inflation, barely moved since 1978. But here's the shocking part. We're still thinking too small. We're thinking too domestic. Remember, the US dollar is the world's reserve currency, which means nearly every country out there holds US dollars, whether it's in the Central Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, or the Reserve Bank of Australia. And so every time the US prints more money, these countries, their reserves become less and less valuable. And the US government knows this, and they actually love it. They love to take on debt to fuel their consumption habits, to be able to print more money so they can pay back what they owe.
Okay, so you want to watch that, all of that, you can watch it, it's the end of the empire, how the US dollar would die. So what the guy was just explaining to you is what all the European countries figured out a long time ago with Esau. That's why he was looking for. That's why he sent out the Nina Pina and the Santa Marina, looking for land to get away from the people they was trying to kill him. That's what Hitler was trying to do. This is what he know they do right here. They pros, they geniuses at wrecking countries with money. Bankers, these Illuminati bankers. And so he just told you they print money, getting everything they want with, and they don't even have no bank account. They just print money out of nowhere, and every time they do it, all the rest of the world, the rest of the other countries, feeling the brunt of it. And these people already know that, but they weren't in no position to bring them down. But now they're in a position to bring them down. Especially China and Russia, they're gonna bring them down. They burn out on them. It says, it tells you all the rest of the countries gonna hate the whore. It's a woman riding on the fourth beast, Esau. And the nations of the world know that. They're through with him. They don't want to deal with him no more. Okay? Any comments? That's what we're witnessing. Okay, no comments? Okay, I showed you the ship vanishing. I showed you Russia attacking Ukraine. Okay, yeah, here we go. Right here. Let me replay this right here, and then we go into some Q&A. Here we go.
Of this century, we have had three major crashes. In 2000 was the dot-com crash, followed by the 2006 real estate subprime crash, and then 2008.
I was telling you, the beast got a wound in it. It's got a hole in the side. And so Russia and China taking advantage of that.
The banking crash. The question is this next? This is the giant crash of 1929. And every time I listen to those guys on CNBC, I call it bubble. They keep talking about the giant crash of 1929. I tell you what, you can compare to this one coming. So what's happening in America today, savers are losing. Most parents say to the kids, go to school and save money and work hard. But in 1970, when I graduated school, $1 million at 15% interest earned me $150,000. Now you could live on $150,000 a year back then. But in 2016, do this thing called quantitative easing. I call it the Greenspan put. It's $1 million at negative 5 basis points. It's going to cost $1 million to save $1 million. That is how deteriorated our financials have become. And this is one of the causes between the gap, the rich, and the poor. Another thing is that fewer and fewer families are receiving middle-class incomes. It's going down. Every time we shop at Walmart, we ship dollars and jobs over to China and Pakistan and all this capital. Another thing that's happening when people's incomes go down, they become dependent. Now, the U.S. government tells us that poverty has been beaten in America. Maybe poverty has been beaten, but what has increased is entitlement mentality. The attitude that the government and others should take care of. This is a moral crisis as well as spiritual. I learned in Sunday school, give and you shall receive. And too many people today think that.
Marx had one thing, it was the abolition of private property. In other words, we could own nothing. So they wanted to take all of our private property and it would then go to the state. And that's why when you study communism and Marxism, it's a centralized economy. It's called, in military terms, it's called command and control with the military. So it's a command and control economy where the government tells you everything. And so that's why the Federal Reserve Bank is part of communism. It's a central bank. And the central bank is not America. It's not a bank. And there's no reserves in it. And it's the Fed today, 2021, is the third central bank. And for history, since Jefferson and those guys, they kept saying we cannot have central banks. But because our academic system is basically Marxist, most school teachers are Marxists, they just don't know it. August 15, 1971, we broke the agreement of the Bretton Woods Agreement, 1944. We promised the world the dollar would be backed by gold. Going back in time to 1933, it was FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who everybody loves. The guy was a hardcore Marxist. He made owning gold illegal. And so 1933, 1944, you got to study history, Bretton Woods, 71, Nixon screws the world. But this is the thing that happened that really screwed my generation of boomers. The 401k was born in 1974. So today you have my generation
the boomers, they're hanging on by a thread due to historical events coming in. So now the stock market is at an all-time high. It's nuts. And the reason it's all-time high is because our CEOs are borrowing money from the Treasury to repurchase their own stocks. So we don't have a real economy. We don't have a real stock market. And the U.S., the Fed is greatly in debt. The U.S. is greatly in debt. So your generation is far more aware. But my generation, my concern is the market is going to come down. Stock market, bond market, real estate market. And my generation is not prepared for it because they're not as turned on or aware as much of your generation is. You know, like it's such a paradox of what's going on. Yeah, but you can't see it if you're aware. So the thing that happened in '74 was very, very important. Back in 1950s, when I was a real little kid, I was working with my rich dad, who's my best friend's father. He had executives in his company that played in the stock market. So this is the 50s and the 60s. And my rich dad said, anybody who's in the stock market's a gambler. And so I don't do business with gamblers. And I still remember that. So when I talk, a lot of my friends are not in the stock market. So this is the point. Back in the 50s and the 60s, prior to 71, when they split the dollar off the gold standard, you could save dollars because they weren't printing it. It was backed by gold. You see, 1944 to 71, you have to look at history. But it was really smart to be a saver of dollars. It was also smart. My rich dad didn't really save money. He built projects. He built big projects. But he bought bonds. So the smart money back in the 50s and the 60s was in bonds and savings, because they didn't print money. If you can get your head around that one. And so today we're printing 120 billion a month in the US.
Right, so like I was saying before, when you see what's going on and see who behind all this, it's Esau. So he was setting us up all along. And he also know the plan was gonna come to a head too and backfire, just like he know that before it's over with, JC gonna get exposed. He already know that. He know the truth gonna come to the surface. It's just a matter of time, but he already know all that. That's what he a pro at. So he long ago when he took the gold, he took it off the gold standard back in the 70s, he already looking forward to this day. It's all part of their plan. Like I said, how we been duped is the two main things and it's all because of, like I say, they just talking and giving you subliminal messages. The church, that's the last place you want to be at, inside the church house and in a bank. But you let us tell it, our so-called leaders, they hold the bank and the church to high regard. And both of them is abominable. The Most High got a problem with both of them. The church, the bank, and the schoolhouse. All three of them abominable. But you let these Negroes tell you, they got them up on a pedestal. Okay? And he already knew because of his plan, all those things are gonna come to a head. Because they wicked as hell. And that's what we dealing with. It's all coming to a head. The lies coming out, the banking system that he set up going to the dogs. Everything he had strategized for this. Like I was saying before, that's why the Europeans don't want to deal with him. They got a problem with him. He done ran this game on them before he left on those 3 ships and came to America. Posted up over here. Yeah. Any comments? No comments? Okay. So that video right there was it's gonna crash. We are all screwed. It's by this guy Robert Kiyosaki. In case you want to watch it. But nobody have no comments on there. We're gonna go into the Ask Brother Leonard. We're gonna do the questions. Anybody have any questions they want to pose, and we're gonna break it down line upon line together. Okay.
Hey, Leonard, last night we read in the book of Jubilees, chapter 15.
Right.
It mentioned the angels of the presence and the angels of sanctification.
Right.
Could you just give a little description of those angels and the difference between the angels of the presence and the angels of sanctification?
Okay, so I got to go and show you something else. It's like I said, you're familiar with as above, so below.
I have heard that phrase
Right.
many
So
times.
that's all the Egyptians was doing when they made the pyramids. They made the pyramids on the Giza Plateau. They was lining it up with the 3 stars in Orion. So it had the 3 stars in Orion in the above, and they put the same thing on the ground with the pyramids on the Giza Plateau.
Okay.
On the earth as it is in heaven or in the sky. So anyway, so I'm gonna show you this right quick. I mean, let me get it. And this is why it's so important to understand about the Isaiah 53 and the Levites, because each one of those tribes is a nation in itself. And he said he brought the Levites out to himself, the nation of priests. He brought them to himself. So I'm saying that for a reason. Let me get this right quick. I think it's 2 King. Let me see. Okay. Give me a minute. Okay. Okay, on chapter 11, 2 King. You got it? Chapter 11. All right,
Yes,
so what's going on is this I don't know if anybody know the story. I didn't talk about it before, but this woman Atlas, she was a female that was a king in Israel. And how she became king was her son got killed. And so she ended up reigning. And what she did was, I told you the Most High got a covenant with David, that it's always going to be a seed from David's lineage, from David loins. Always going to be, you always going to have a seed from David loins on the throne, in the throne of Israel. And if it's not one there, that's a breach. That's what the 2 kings was trying to do in second. That's what the 2 kings were trying to do in Isaiah chapter 7. When they came and they tried to take the seed of David off the throne and put another seed from Tubal on the throne, because they were trying to put a breach in Israel. So this woman right here, because her son got killed, I'm picking it up in chapter 11, her son got killed, so she tried to kill all of David's lineage. So her son was out of David's lineage, Ahaziah, and he had a bunch of sons. So each one of them sons is from out of David's lineage, because this boy from David's lineage. So she tried to kill all his sons, which is when you say seed royal in Israel, that's what you're talking about. The princes, there's a king on the throne, all those princes all the sons he got are seed royal. They got the potential to sit on the throne of David. So she understood that. So I'm picking up in verse 1, chapter 11, verse 1. And when Adlah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed. See that? All the seed royal. So she's trying to put a breach in Israel. Then verse 2. And then Ahaziah had a sister, right? She also understands this. So verse 2. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Jeroboam, sister of Ahaziah, see that's Ahaziah's sister, the boy that died, took Josh. Now remember what the Lord of hosts said. I always reserve a seed. That's my job. I'm gonna reserve a seed to sit on the throne. So she took one of these boys before the lady killed all of them, Joash, the son of Ahaziah, stole him from among the king's sons, which were slain, and they hid him. See that? He's keeping the seed. Go back to under us the son is given. It's the son right here that's given. You got nothing to do with JC. So anyway, and he was with her hid in the house of the Lord 6 years, and Ahaziah did reign over the land. So she wicked as hell, right? So finally, these Levites, like I just told you, Most High brought the Levites to himself. They gotta do something with her because she wreaking havoc. So finally, I'm in verse 3. And when as I heard the noise of the guards and of the people, she came to the people into the temple of the Lord. And when she looked, behold, the king stood. Here go the boy right here. The king stood by the pillar as the manager, as the manner was, and the princes and the trumpeters and the king and all the people of the land rejoiced and blew the trumpet and Adela rent her clothes and cried treason, treason. Then 15. But Jonadab, this is the high priest, commanded the captains of the hundreds and officers of the host, and said unto them, have her forth without the ranges, and him that followed her killed with the sword. And the priest has said, let her not be slain in the house of the Lord. So here we go, to answer the question. 16. So they had to get rid of her. Now they got to put the kings back on the throne, the seat of David back on the throne. So here we go, right here. Yahweh on the throne, on the sapphire stone. So it says, and they laid hands on her, and she went by the way of which the horses came into the king's house, and there was she slain. And Jehoiada, I don't know how to say that name, made a covenant between the Lord, right, Lord of hosts, and the king and the people, and they should be the Lord's people, between the king also and the people. And all the people of the land went into the house of Baal, break it down, his altars and his images, and break the pieces thoroughly, and slew Matchan, the priest of Baal, before the altar, and the priest appointed officers over the house of the Lord. Here we go. And he took the rulers over hundreds, and the captains, and the guards, and all the people of the land, and he brought them down, and he brought down the king from the house of the Lord, and came by the way of the gate of the king's house, and he sat on the throne of the king, and all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was in quiet, and they slew Adler. With a sword beside the king's house. 7 years old was Joash when he began to reign. Okay, so this boy Joash, yeah, I mean, it's got two different versions of it. Let me get the other version in Second Chronicles. It's going. Let me get it right quick. Okay. Right here you go, right here. I'm in Second Chronicles, chapter 23. Same story. So I'm in 23, verse 9. Moreover, Jonadab the priest delivered the captains of 100 to the captains just after they killed her, and the captains of 100 spears and bucklers and shields that had been in King's David, which were in the house of the Lord. And he set all the people, every man having his weapon in his hand, for here go, from the right side of the temple to the left side of the temple. Same question you just asked. You got angels of sanctification, angels of purification on each side. This ain't the seven. These created angels. You got a bunch of them on one side and a bunch of them on the other side. So it says, and he set all the people, every man having a weapon in his hand, and from the right hand side of the temple to the left hand side of the temple, along by the altar, the temple, by the king round about. Then they brought out the king's son and put him upon the put on him a crown and gave him the testimony and made him king. And Jonadab and all his sons anointed the king. And God said, "Save the king." So they doing the same. The Levites doing the same thing for what you just read. What we just read in Jubilees. You got angels, sanctification and purification on one side of the Most High, and you got angels of purification on one side and angels of sanctification on the other side. Then you got the 7 holy ones, and it's the same thing right here with the king. You got the Levites doing the same thing that the angels in heaven doing surrounding the king, same way. And that's what that is. Another example is right here.
So real quick, Leonard. So in the New Testament, when they refer to angels as virtues, principalities, and dominions, and all of that, is that not accurate? Or
yeah, right. It's accurate, but they wicked principalities.
Gotcha.
You know that he didn't, like we read last night. Also, he said he appointed angels over on the Tower of Babel. We appointed angels over the nations to lead them astray from the Most High. Those are wicked principalities and powers that's over these nations, because they already have a problem with them. They already have a problem with the Most High in kingdom anyway. So they're going to lead the people away from the understanding of the Most High. They want to keep them under subjection. So they're going to give them everything but the truth.
Okay, well, that explains why you only see that in the New Testament and not in the Tanakh.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
You want that song? Yeah, I want to read this right quick too. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, I know you tried to run across it. Remember when Ahab called Micaiah into his out until he had requested, he wanted to know if was it good for him to go to war, and he had asked those 100 priests of Baal, should they go to war, and they said yeah, but he didn't believe him, so he called Micaiah in to ask him what he thought. Micaiah was a righteous priest, and he told him go to war, but he was just telling him that because he didn't want no drama from him. So he told him, "You lying to me." He said, "Tell me what you really see, what the Most High really showed you." And then Most High opened up Micaiah's eyes.
Right. I think that's around 1 Kings chapter 22, Leonard.
Right, and he said that he saw angels on the right hand side, angels on the left. Same thing I just read. Let me get that. Oh, he said what?
That's when Jehoshaphat was with Ahaz, correct?
Right.
Yeah. 1 Kings chapter 22.
Okay. Let me get that.
Yeah. I think it starts around chapter 19.
Yeah, because
verse 19. Chapter 22, verse 19.
Yeah, he says 19, 22 and 19 says, and he said, "Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting upon his throne, and all the hosts of heaven." See that's created angel. All the hosts of heaven by him on the right hand and on the left. See that? So that's the angel sanctification and purification on both sides. The holy ones, the 7 holy ones, is out in front of him. You see that?
Yes, sir. Gotcha. Okay.
Anybody else got a question? Comment?
I have another one if nobody else have a question.
Okay.
In that same book chapter in the book of Jubilees, when it talked about the covenant that the Lord of hosts made with Abraham and circumcision,
Right.
those who do not get circumcised is said to be cut off. Cut off in this term, do that mean separated from?
Yes, separated from Israel.
Israel, okay.
Right.
It doesn't mean put to death, correct?
No, it means separated from him, and at the same time, put out from from amongst the nation of Israel.
Okay.
You can't get away from him. In some instances, it means to be killed. Like,
right,
if you get caught in adultery, you get killed. But that's applying to something else. But if you're not circumcised, you're gonna get cut off anyway. A male walking around Israel at that time without being circumcised, he wasn't gonna last long.
Right.
Because that's something that has to happen on the 8th day, from the day you're born.
Right.
So
and what you brought out a good point last night about many of us these days are not circumcised, and look at the condition we are in,
exactly,
as Israelite men.
Right. And that's the reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's the total reason. And you see, like I was saying, was one of the things that blew me away was, like I said, in my case, the Most High said He's going to keep His jewels. He's going to start collecting jewels and all that. And looking at where we are today, well, when I was born, they circumcised me. How crazy is that?
Right.
And then I got 6 brothers. None of them didn't get circumcised. I was the only one. So He was already doing His due way back then. We said, that's what I mean by, you can't. Anytime something happens, the first thing supposed to come to your mind is the Lord of hosts. Gonna handle it. It shouldn't be that you formally really thinking He's gonna handle it. He's gonna handle it. You know what I mean? When you start seeing how He operate, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was saying last night. I muse at His works. I'd be amazed at how He does His business.
Right.
It's amazing to me,
Right. Yeah. And like I was saying before, He already people continuously falling with it, but it's DNA.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because in my family of males, I'm the only one circumcised.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, once you started connecting them dots and see all that, you see that, it ain't no coincidence. There's no coincidence. I mean, even the people that's on this line, what that's like. I mean, that's like a dropping a needle in a haystack.
Right.
To find prophets of awakening and the Most High connect everybody together, there ain't no coincidence. He's doing it. He's behind it. He's doing it. That's why, people can come on in and act a fool and talk crazy. It don't faze me. You can't insult me. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter. Because I know how I got here, how it all went down. I ain't fumbling with it and don't know if I'm sure or whatever. I know what's up.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's that spirit that been poured upon us.
Right.
So
you
don't have to argue, fuss, and fight.
Right.
You steadfast in that spirit, in the presence that the Most High have placed upon us.
Right. Exactly. Like I was saying, a prime example will be just witnessed with the lady tried to kill all the seed royal, but he had the guy's sister to take one of them and hide him out. And then when the time came, he brought him out.
Right.
And killed her. That's what Psalm 37 says. Don't fret not. It's gonna look like they prospering, but you're gonna look up one day, he cut them down like a green bay tree. That's how it works. As soon as you go on about your business doing something else, he's gonna handle your business.
Shalom.
Yeah.
And I'm forever grateful
Right.
Forever grateful, because just allowing me to know him.
Right.
And so many around us don't even know him.
Exactly. Right. You're like a fish out of water. You walking around people and they don't have no clue. That's like this stuff right here. I mean, you would think people would know. People don't know what's going on in Africa. They have no clue about the stuff that we're dealing with on this line and what's happening around them. They don't have no clue that what's getting ready to happen with the economy and what's happening with these Russia and China. They have no clue. They think they locked in thinking that this thing gonna exist forever. And the Most High done told you He gonna shut it down. And He's shutting it down.
They believe it's a rumor.
Yeah, right.
Rumor of wars and earthquakes.
Exactly. Oh yeah. And like I say, these people have these Chinamen, Chinese and these Russians they tired of America, imposing their will and these Edomites and all the trickeration and all they've done all these years and all the debauchery and stuff they've done. They got the opportunity is here and they're gonna cut their head off. That's what it is. Most High already told us that. He already prophesied that. And that's what we witnessing.
And it's gonna be popping off in the inside of America. They're gonna be trying to get their government back.
Right, exactly. They ain't gonna get it back. But we talked about that too, how he brought the chaos to Africa, but none of the Israelites ain't nothing happened to them. He had them tucked off somewhere. But he was wreaking havoc on the continent of Africa, but the Israelites ain't nothing happened to them. Same thing ain't gonna happen now. You're gonna wreak havoc over here in North America. But ain't nothing gonna happen to the Israelites. Is there something? Yeah. Anybody else got anything?
Leonard, I got one last question. Nobody else.
Okay,
have
go ahead. It's all good.
Right. In the book of Hosea, chapter 3 and verse 4.
Okay.
For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king and without a prince and without a sacrifice and without an image and without an ephod and without teraphim. So I looked up the word teraphim, and it's like a family idol or image. Right. So how does that work in our culture as having family images like that? Because reading over in the book of 1 Samuel, I think it's around the 19th chapter, right. Rachel put when she lured David out the window, she replaced him, put in the bed a image and put goat hair at the head, right, to fool Saul men's when Saul men's came to looking for David, but she helped David escape.
Right.
So she had an image. David and her had an image in their home. So how do that work in our culture? I know that we don't worship or praise any images, but we did have idols of some sort.
Right. Well, the thing about that is this teraphim is tied to the ephod.
Okay.
See, that word is also said without an ephod.
Mm-hmm.
And without teraphim. So what that is it's two stones this ephod is like a girdle for a woman. You know, a woman wear a girdle, then she put a dress on over it.
Right, correct. Yes.
But a high priest had to wear this ephod, this thing like this ephod, and it had two pockets on it in front of him on his chest, and he put each one of those stones in there.
Okay.
Down in there. Then he put his garment on. Then he put the breastplate on over it. And when he go in the Holy of Holies, these stones react to to the 12 stones that's on his breastplate. So wherever seen that in Israel, that particular stone would light up.
Okay.
So that's what teraphim is.
So teraphim in this case is a stones,
right?
Priestly stones.
It's two of them.
Okay.
Yeah, two of them.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so when you read the whole verse, it says the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king. So we know it's two anointed ones in Israel. The king, one of them, right? Say without a king and without a prince. So the king got to have a prince to take his place, without a sacrifice and without a image and without an ephod and without the high priest, all this, the sacrifice without an image, without an ephod, without teraphim, all tied to the high priest.
Right. I see that.
So that's like I was telling you before. That's the wound that's been the grievous wound in Isaiah 53 that's been laid under us. We don't have a king, and we don't have our high priest. That's a grievous wound.
So, i.e., the breach in Israel.
Right. Exactly. And that's why he got to bring that back. And that's verse 5. Verse 5 answer that. Afterward shall the children of Israel return, seek the Lord their God, right? David, tell you who the Messiah is. David, their king, and shall fear the Lord in his goodness in the latter days. So the king that's missing is David. We're going to bring him back. That's what Ezekiel 37 tells you. And Elijah. You know Elijah coming back. There go the high priest. Okay. Got anything else?
That's all I got, Leonard.
Okay. Yeah.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, we had an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah. So with that being said, anybody got anything else they want to bring up or comment? Yeah. So my thing is to it's time to start wrapping your mind around what it is you think you ought to be doing or focusing on, because like I said, the way this thing looking, we ain't gonna 2022 don't look good. It ain't looking good. Like I said, all of a sudden, you think Putin gonna back up and take all his troops off the border? He ain't gonna back up. And no sooner than he make his move, that's it. Because America ain't gonna be able to deal with Putin and with China. It ain't in a position to do that. Yeah.
Hey, Leonard, I still think Iran and North Korea is waiting in the cusp as well.
Yeah, right.
To join in the fray.
Right. They this it's like I don't know if you what you know about the what his name Genghis Khan and all them people tied to Russia, and they got a old trick they've been doing for years and years and years. Even Russia did it during the Cold War. They play possum like they wounded, knowing that they got all these allies that's sitting back on their side, but they're gonna come out as if it's just them. All you looking at is what you looking at in front of you. That's it. They're playing possum, but they got a whole big old plan to get you. They the ones, Genghis Khan and all them the ones started that where they'll retreat, like they afraid, they being defeated, and then you get to running in behind them and they turn back. And with more forces, they got more. They'll run for a certain distance, knowing they got all these people waiting, and then here you come running behind them. Then they turn back around and start coming back at you, but they got all these people they had hid in the bush. They pros at that. They did that in during the Cold War. They acted like Russia had folded, but Russia hadn't folded. Because we see what they're doing right now. Like I said, that's one of their tactics. They go to Southern like a possum. Yeah, so and that's what we're looking at now. They know they got all these countries on their side. All these countries are fed up with America too. What you got, Lamar?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's a golden opportunity for them too, because America is wounded, man. Now the time. They ain't gonna let this opportunity pass away.
Nah, they ain't. Like I said, they burn out on this place.
Yeah, they even wrote in their book in the New Testament, you got to wound a strong man before you enter into his house.
Right. Exactly.
America is being destroyed from inside too.
Right. Exactly.
Me personally, I think they waiting on something to pop off inside, and it's gonna be on from all directions.
Exactly right. We got all these allies they got in the bush. Is there something? Okay. So everybody good?
All good.
Okay. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna close this out, and we're gonna pick up tomorrow with the women's line at 8 o'clock, and I'll see everybody else on Friday at 8 for the Friday night Q&A. Shalom.
Shalom.
Okay.
Shalom.
Okay.
Shalom, everyone.
All right, shalom.